As Kenyo here, wanted to start this first with a little advertisement. Obviously, this is going to be a scientific episode, but advertising is important. Got to support the science, and the brand that I'm advertising is one that I've been working with. I'm trying to help them grow their brand, so I would appreciate it greatly if you're into supplements or anything like that. Go check out AsherSpringHealth.com. I'm going to tag them in here. They're making some new accounts, and I'm just trying to get new customers, and I'm attempting to help them with that. So if you're into any type of supplements, or you've been thinking about a detox, or maybe some, I think they also have exercise products, as well as I already said detox stuff, right? Okay, well, they have different stuff, so go check it out. And I appreciate you for that. Now, into the thing I wanted to talk about, really, which there's two things. One, I've been doing some research into the sixth dimension, and it is related to the research that I'm doing in what I call the second dimension, my hypothesis says, which is magnetism. The interesting thing about that, I'll start with the sixth dimension. So I've kind of narrowed down the scales of the sixth dimension, which seems to be, I'm developing some research I did today. Roughly, the small end of the sixth dimension might be about this big, about a square, about half an inch squared, while the big end of it, I don't actually remember the name. I think it was the number. I think it was about, what was it? I gotta go check. Sorry, I think it was like 300 yards about, but that's good enough to be somewhat accurate. And why this is interesting is it might mean, this is one testable version of it, that part of the problem with quantum tunneling in computer chips might be the proximity of the bits themselves, which might mean, maybe, I don't know, but a few different things. There might be some testing we can do as far as the spacing of the bits, and then, of course, we're trying to get them smaller and smaller, but do they all need to be so close together? Or there's just some different things. It's too early in the research for me to even get too deep into that, but it's just fascinating to think the scale of the sixth dimension. Also, there might be a strong preference for coherence on that scale that I just mentioned. Anything between about half an inch squared and about 300-ish yards. So that's fascinating. And then when it comes to magnetism, I was just kind of exploring the concept of time being magnetism squared. Don't have too much for you on that just yet, but it is promising, especially since I think magnetism is the second dimension, time is the fourth dimension, and I'm diving into this research because I'm kind of trying to buff up my knowledge of qubits. But I also need to buff up my knowledge of 7D core arrays, or the seventh dimension in general, seven-dimensional cores. And so I'm touching on some of this knowledge. That's about it, though. That's about it that I wanted to say in this video, just those two things. The sixth dimension scale thing has some very fascinating, very, 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 very fascinating consequences. Especially when I was talking about with the coherence thing and the decoherence. It might be, honestly, that decoherence really, 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 before something So if 300 yards or so, I don't have the exact number, is the absolute limit of T coherence, guaranteed drop off of, drop into 100% decoherence, then obviously it means that in that scale that we have some severe opportunities for all sorts of quantum effects, and that there might be some locality, which we already know that there is kind of in the ability of quantum properties to propagate. Also, ninth dimension entanglement, I think similarly has an upper limit of, I'm not really sure on this right now, I'd have to go check it out, but something like maybe 500 miles or so. I think it's even, somewhere around there, 500 square miles. And that below that, and yet still above about 50 miles, that might be the prime range to test quantum entanglement. So I'm definitely testing dimensional scales. And I'll get more into that. There's a lot to get into with that, because I'm also thinking that, for instance, so to make the sixth dimension analogous to the fourth dimension, if we think about, the fourth dimension, the atom, right? Let's say that is the scale, the varying scale of the atom of the fourth dimension would be from about a hydrogen atom, really a hydrogen nucleus, maybe even. Like a hydrogen isotope, or a hydrogen atom without any electrons, and the upper limit being the largest atoms that we've discovered, and maybe even not some of those larger ones, because I think they're more artificial, but at least up to, like gold and beyond that a little bit. So if that's the width and the scale, if we can make that analogous to the sixth dimension, the smaller side would be a couple centimeters, like I said, about half an inch, and then the bigger size, so about 300 yards, which would mean that at that smaller scale too, you might see something ubiquitous that acts as the actual almost 60 nucleus of that scale. And what would that scale be? It would be products or objects around handheld size. Anyway, it's really interesting. Lots more work to do on it, but I thank you guys for watching. Thank you for being hoverheads, and I hope to have some new details, some new ideas soon. So keep rocking. Talk to you soon.